20 seconds. And we are live, so you can start recording. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Omar Rauf. I am one of the co-founding board members of the Utah Muslim Civic League. Today's topic is women in business, and we're joined by Clancy Stone. She is an officer, or was an officer in the U.S. Army, and transitioned to corporate America, where she was often the only woman at the table. She realized women need a better understanding of their strengths and how to leverage them to become leaders. Later, she started her own coaching business. Clancy joined the WBCUtah team, where she continues to help women live their best lives, both professionally and personally. And I will pass it off in just a moment to Clancy to introduce herself further and get into the presentation. But I did want to give a little bit of background on today's event. It falls under our financial literary series as a part of Project Rahma. And the goal of Project Rahma and the Utah Muslim Civic League is to provide services and resources and knowledge to our Muslim community and just the community at large to help them during this sort of time of need during the pandemic, where there is a high demand for this type of information and knowledge. And so we felt like this is a very fitting topic and information that would be beneficial to our community. And I think there's a lot of women in our community that are ready to lead, that maybe just don't know how to get started and looking for opportunities or ideas. And likewise for men and everyone alike, how we can become better partners and be more inclusive and support our community at large. I would like to pass it over to, let's just start with the next person on my screen here, Khadija. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and we can just go around the screen and just briefly tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Khadija. I'm a first-year student at the U, and I'm also the Racial Justice Fellow here at the UMCL. Next on my screen is Abdulkader.
Hello, my name is Abdulkader Ashton. I've been working with UMCL since summer, like Khadija. I'm a graduate student at the University of Utah. We have a young audience today, but I'm looking forward to everybody learning and getting insight.
Hi, my name is Shema. I currently work at the university, and I'm a civic engagement fellow with UMCL.
We got one more here. Okay, right? Did I pronounce that right?
Hi, my name is McKay, and I am currently a high school student graduating this year of 2021, and we will be going to the U. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. We have a very diverse crew here today. And as you can see, we have a younger audience. I think this will be very beneficial to us. Me as personally as a business owner, I got started very young, and I wish I had resources and people like Clancy who could mentor me and offer advice and support. So I'm really excited for this opportunity to hear this presentation. So Clancy, I'll let you, if you want to queue up your slide deck, and you can talk while you do that as well. And yeah, go ahead.
Great, thank you so much. Like you mentioned, I'm Clancy Stone. I'm the business advisor from the Women's Business Center of Utah. I did work in the military in corporate America. I've always found myself working for teams where I always had men. A lot of times teams where I had men that didn't speak English. And so I had to find ways to lead and connect and be successful and lean on their expertise with being able to connect when they didn't want to listen to me because I was a woman. And so you have to find common ground, especially when some of your team members that you lead have all the experience that you don't. And so it's critical of finding that connection. Coming to the Women's Business Center has been great, helping entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. but I've also had opportunities to go to other countries and help other organizations and women business owners grow their businesses. So thank you for having me here today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. No, there it goes. And during this, if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Or if there's something you really want to know today throughout this, I don't care if you do interrupt me. I know you have a Q&A at the end, but it's really critical that you want to ask during my presentation. I'm really okay with that. I'm not someone that will, get mystified and stop at the beginning. So here we go. So when you want to start a business, I love to go from the idea to action because we always have an idea. But we really want to understand, can we take that idea all the way to action to start a business? A few things about the Women's Business Center of Utah, though. First is we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're a little different than from some nonprofits because we're a public-private partnership between the SBA and the Women's Business and the Salt Lake Chamber. We're housed inside the Salt Lake Chamber downtown, Salt Lake City, except for the last year because of the global pandemic, we've been remote. And what our SBA grant provides is free one-on-one business consultations. So you can meet with me as many times as you want, even though our grant is focused on women business owners, we do work with men. So you can come to us. We also offer online and in-person training and workshops and mentoring and networking opportunities. So please look for those. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So if you're looking to start a business, look at it in 4 easy steps. I like to think about it where it starts with an ideal state, you find your people, you complete a business plan and make it legal. Yes, it is that easy. So when you think about an ideal state, what is that? And this is what it really is. This is an exercise I always have my clients do when they come into me. And these are the tools that you'll need to do it. You take about 30 minutes, you find a quiet space, you take a notebook, pen or pencil. Now I know some of you are gonna go, I'm gonna take my laptop, I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and do this. Do not take technology because what happens is you get on your laptop and you start writing it out. And then the next thing you know, you get distracted and you're on a website and then you're on a shopping site. And at the end of it, you're buying shoes somewhere. So don't do that. Also too, technology has a way of draining us, but it has been proven when you write things down physically, they have a tendency to come to fruition. And this exercise, when you do an ideal state, it's the best thing to clear your mind. When you write down what the ideal state of your business looks like, what this means is think about if you had no limitations, like no financial limitations, no location limitations, like the sky is the limit, right? Or whatever. And so perfect example, like maybe you wanted to open a coffee shop in downtown Salt Lake City and you knew the location and how big it was going to be. It's going to be like 2,000 square feet and you knew the building and what furniture you're going to place in it and what equipment you were going to use. And you get really specific and how many people were going to work there and what type of coffee and food you were going to sell and what hours you were going to be open. And you want to get that specific. And maybe over time you wanted to have multiple locations and you were going to only work, Tuesdays through Fridays. And when ski season hit, you were going to, ski and other people were going to run the business for you. You want to get that specific because what we do is we take that ideal state. We've actually been able, when I work with my clients, is to put numbers to that idea. We've been able to forecast out a plan to see how much it would actually cost you. And some people, when we've done that, we can look at it and say, wow, your ideal state of your business is actually affordable right now. And we can make a plan to it. And then they can go ahead and find financing for it and open it at that stage right there. Others, we have looked at it and said, wow, that is like a 5-year plan. So we break it down into phases so it's attainable. Also, what this does for you, like I mentioned earlier, is it empties your brain, which is your best storage unit. A lot of times when we think about an idea, when we want to open our business, I don't know about you, but when we think about things in our brain, everything works out. How many of you have an idea? Maybe it's a product idea, maybe it's a service. And when you're thinking about it in your brain, it totally is doable, right? Who wouldn't want your idea? Who wouldn't want your product? And I'm sure it's improving something. You just have to make it if someone invests in it, and everyone's going to want to buy it, or I'm sure everyone you've told about it wants it, and you're going to sell it right away, and you're going to be instantly rich, and your life is taken care of, because everything works out in our brain. But when we execute it outside that, it's a lot more difficult. So that's why we like to do the ideal state. Next thing you want to think about is, after you do the ideal state, is start growing your business tribe. And what that looks like is looking at social media first. Social media can be Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I mean, there's so many different things out there, YouTube, to think about. But you really want to leverage that to some capacity. If it's not something you're comfortable with, and there are some people today that still don't have a presence on social media, start where you're comfortable, because social media can have as much as a negative impact if you're not going to engage in it as it can if you're not on it. And so the reason is, if you are on it, have you ever noticed that there's this like dance on it, when the subconscious dance, like you start noticing when you log in that people post in a way that you subconsciously go there at certain times of the day. They don't tell you when they post, but you just get, I don't know, just tuned into that and programmed in a way that you show up. And so as a person, if you're a business owner and you start posting and then you just stop, your followers are going to get used to that. And then one day you shut down, it's going to have a more of a negative reaction to your business than if you never were there at all. So you want to think about those things. So I always recommend, when you start using social media, if it's something that you really hate, or if it's something that doesn't bring you joy, have someone else do it, or just start really small. Start with one platform, learn it really well, and then master it, and then grow from there. Look at other networking events or conferences, women conferences, business conferences. They can really help you. It is amazing. For Utah, it's so crazy. So fun facts, I really like fun facts. So if you didn't know this, Utah is the second state in our country that is the most sexist towards women. However, when it comes to entrepreneurship, women are growing this state faster in business ownership. So it's one of the best states as a woman to own a business today. And we are helping the state and have a stronger foundation, and more women have small businesses here. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, gives more business loans to women here. And they like to give business loans to women because women actually are more successful here in Utah as business owners. They have more growth, they employ more employees, and they're more successful. And so it's been proven. And so it's just fun facts. So when you think about that as a business owner, so networking is really important, but women business owners, and the reason I bring those fun facts up is they really like supporting one another. And the small business community here really likes supporting one another. And so do men. I've never seen anything like it. It's so fantastic. When I have clients come in, I always say, find out who your top 2 to 3 competitors are and reach out to them. They will tell you who to work with, if you're a food industry, who to order your food from, who to avoid. They really will tell you the inner secrets because they want to see more businesses, small businesses open. They want them to be successful. They don't want corporations here. So they really will support you. So do not be afraid, put yourself out there. And then look for skills classes. Even showing up here today is really important. Look at who is on the gallery. You should really exchange information with each other. Look at the social media sites all of you are on. You should really get in the chat box and share your email. If you're on Instagram, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, share your guys' information and handles. Follow each other, follow your journeys. It will amaze you to see where each of you go and support one another. This is where it begins. This is how you learn how to do that. Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have her back. It's the same for every person. What you give back is what you get in return. I love to put this so you never forget that. So if you're thinking about having a business, you'll always have to have a business plan. They're not just for asking for money. A business plan is an internal document for a business. So they will always grow and change with your business. An executive summary is part of your business plan. And what it does is it explains what your business idea is, what the structure of your business is. So that's like your business license, how you're going to use the funds of your business, what your product or service is. So if you're a food business, what your menu is, you might want to show some pictures of your food. Or if you're a service industry, maybe you're doing massages, who your competition is. You always want to show 2 to 3 of your competitors. You want to understand what they do well and what makes you unique and different. Then you want to understand your market analysis. Who out there is going to buy what you have and what makes them tick. And that's a lot of your psychographics and your demographics. And then your market strategy, how you're going to get them to actually open the door and open their wallet to buy it. What organizational skills do you have and what management skills do you have? So do you have financial strengths? Do you have leadership skills? What did you do in your first job? You know, was it working at a grocery store? Do you have customer service? Don't just, credit that. It doesn't mean what skills did you have after college. Any job skills, you want to put that in there. And then financials. So if you've never been in business, you need to show 1 full year of what you expect your business to do. And so what that means is you have to put together what's called a cash flow sheet. And it shows every month of what comes into the business and what you expect to go out of the business. It's your business plan. You have to think about it. It's the best research plan of your business. Because if you're asking for money when you go to a bank, they have every reason to say no to you, right? And so your business plan is giving them every reason to say yes. And then if you've been in business, you're going to show your profit and loss statements. And that's your actual money that's come into the business and your actual money that has left the business for 3 years. Resources that could support you for free to think about. Women's Business Center, that's us, of course. This is how you can find us. SCORE is another free resource. How they started was people who worked for corporations when they retired that still wanted to support and share their knowledge became mentors. You can go to this website and there's mentors out there that have knowledge in finances, operations, social media, marketing, whatever it is. You can reach out to them and work one-on-one with them at no cost to you. So it's a really great service. There's the Utah Micro Enterprise Loan Fund. They do classes and then they also do micro loan funds. The SBA and then the Small Business Development Center. What's great about them, they do a lot of services that we do. They're partners. They get an SBA loan, a grant. But what makes them different than us is their grant money goes towards a data system. It's like Google on crack. They have access to all this information that anything that has ever been filed by a business or an organization, they have access to. So if you're ever going to do a business plan or you want to know anything, make a laundry list of everything you want to know. So say you were going to open a cupcake shop and you wanted to know everything about the cupcake industry in the Salt Lake region. So you wanted to know about all the cupcake shops that were located in Salt Lake County. You wanted to know about your top 2 to 3 competitors. You wanted to know if there was any vegan cupcake shops. You wanted to know all of those things. You would make a list of it. You would schedule an appointment with them. You would ask for a market report and you'd give them those questions. And they would do the research on it. They would email you this report and they would have all those answers for you with those websites, emails, phone numbers, and you could see all of that information. So you can look at those services, products, whatever they were offering, and it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful report and more. However, you can also find that information on your own through the library. And I don't have it on here, I don't know why, but the Salt Lake County Library has what's called business librarians. You can schedule an appointment with them for free. If you have a library card too, after you meet with them, they have a site on their website called Resource USA. And after you leave there on your own, you can log into the website and do that type of research on your own through Resource USA. And then after you have now done your ideal state, your business planning, you've built your tribe, you understand your business, you want to make it legal now. So how do you do that? Well, there's a website called utah.gov where you go to register with the state. And when you register with the state, you're going to go and it's kind of like a one-stop shop. You create a user login and a password. You put in your name of your business. You answer all of these questions, pay some money. It ends up being like $76 at the end of that. Then you file with your city, and your city is the one that's going to give you your business license. You open a business account. Now you can buy your business cards. Please don't buy your business cards, build your website before you do all of these other things. And then you launch and tell all your friends. Please tell everybody. And if you hang out with me for too long, I'm definitely going to brainwash you into believing in yourself and knowing you can achieve anything. I can't tell you how many times people open businesses and the fear factor creeps in, and it's real. Being an entrepreneur is a roller coaster of loneliness and excitement. And so I don't want you to lean into the fear. This is me. This is how you find me. If you have any questions, you can always reach out. We are available. And the Women's Business Center of Utah has just also too hired on another business advisor. She speaks Spanish, Greek, and English, so she can help in any way possible. And you can schedule time with her. Do you guys have any questions?
Sorry, could you just put that last slide up again real quick?
Sorry.
Just for a few minutes, yeah, just for a couple more moments.
Sorry.
We can make sure. No problem. I mean, I have some questions, but I think somebody else was about to ask something, so go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, that service you were talking about, the one before you said looking at the library, the one that like kind of compiles everything. Is that a free service or is that something you have to pay for?
No, so the SBDC or the business librarian, those are both free.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so the SBDC is, that one is, what is it? The SBDC has a grant from the SBA, just like the Women's Business Center. Their grant goes to that market report. So how you find them, oh, good. Sorry about that. How you find them is you, why can't I operate today? Sorry, I have done like so many trainings today. I'm a hot mess.
You're totally fine.
What is my inability to navigate my desktop? There it is. Oh my gosh, what just happened? Can you guys see that?
We see the Google browser, but I don't. Were you trying to take us to a specific page on the internet?
Who can share? Why am I seeing that? Okay, wait. No, I can't get rid of the, okay. Oh, it's saying sharing is paused. Bring your share window. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Okay, so the SBDC has a grant like we do, and it goes to their data system. How you find the SBDC, they have 14 offices located in the state of Utah. You can go to the sbdc.gov or utaSBDC.gov, and it will list all 14 in the state. The closest one to us is here in Utah, and it's located at the Salt Lake Community College in Sandy at the Miller Business Miller Business Center. If you go online, you can just put in your information. They will email you information to set up an appointment with a business advisor. You have to meet, now that's the thing, you have to meet with a business advisor because that's the key thing. The reason our services are free, how it's free is you have to go through a business advisor to meet our grant requirements, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh. No, just. This is what happens when you get old. I can't do two things at once. I apologize. There you go. Is that what you wanted?
I think your screen is still.
You're still on the Google browser page.
Oh my gosh! Every time
Maybe
I
you were just
Zoom share, it
sharing the
reads
wrong
my PowerPoint. Why does it do that?
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna hit. Stop.
We can stop sharing and then maybe
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Not a problem.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I was just going to ask, so you talked about sort of asking for money at the right, that we could go get a small business loan if you have a business plan, but what is the right time for that type of thing? Is it like, oh, I have a great business idea and I got a business plan. Should I just go apply for a loan? Does it make sense to, what's the type of kind of reasoning or logic that we should go through to make that decision?
No, that's a great question. So it really depends on what type of loan you're going to ask for. So there are some types of loan people like to ask for. If you are going to ask for an SBA loan, people like to ask for an SBA loan at times because they get a fixed rate where you usually get larger amounts of money, better interest rates for a longer amount of time. However, you have to have, your business plan. You have to have at least a credit score of 680. And so you really want to make sure that you understand the requirements. And that's the thing that you want to make sure ahead of time. And also too, so unfortunately, this is the thing, you want to know wherever you are in the world, the rules of who you're asking money from, okay? Even though we live here in the United States, like I mentioned before, right? We live in Utah, and though women are thriving or, killing it in business as entrepreneurs here in Utah, and they know that, I still have clients who are multimillionaires in their business, and they take their husbands with them to ask for money from certain lending institutions, because when they go by themselves, certain banks don't give them as much money as when they take their husbands. And that's not okay, but that's Utah. And so they know that. And so they take that into consideration. And I hate that, but times aren't changing as fast as we wish they were. Now, I do appreciate that more and more banking institutions here are being employed by more and more women higher up. And so we are seeing that change happen, but you want to be aware of who is in that position of lending and who you are going to be in front of when you're asking. And also too here, it's important, timing is important. So when the global pandemic hit with COVID and the PPP was released from the government, what happened was all of these applications flooded the banks. Well, if you were a new business and you weren't going to, you don't qualify for the PPP, but you were going to now ask for funding, unfortunately, a lot of banks stopped taking those applications because now they were flooded with all of these PPP applications. And so I know one lending service that was open to 75 other lending banks went down to 25. And so timing can impact your ability to get funding. Right now, it is really difficult for some businesses to get funding because of all of the PPP government applications out there. Banks aren't lending. So yeah, timing can impact your ability to get funding.
You talked a little bit about the obstacles in lending for women. What are some of the other things that we should be aware are challenges and obstacles that women are facing in starting their business or scaling?
I think sometimes, and I think this is just the human element of it, but with women, I always see the same thing. It doesn't matter how educated they are or what country they're from or age they are. I've had women that have come in my office that are 18 or 65, no education, PhDs, not from this country, born and raised here. And they all have the same things in common. They'll have a business idea and it's validated. It's a great idea. They want to do everything right. They want to make sure everything is legal. And, they're extremely scared and the fear factor is real. However, some will just pause on that and be so fearful and refuse to move forward. And then others will just refuse to do the research and take the time, even though they have thought about, I want to do everything right and be legal, right? Or they'll just confuse passion and just go for it and confuse passion and enthusiasm instead of taking the time to do some research and validate with pausing for a minute to move forward. So doing everything right and stuff is important. Everything will not be perfect. And so after you validate an idea, you need to trust and you have a network, you've asked all the right question. If your idea has been validated, it's okay to move forward, move forward. If you haven't validated stuff and, you're just excited and, you want to move forward just because, that's not a reason to move forward. You have these two extremes. And so the people that I see that take the time to do the research and validate things and move forward are ones that are really successful, but nothing's ever going to be perfect, and so just really trust in that. But it's really interesting because women from all walks of life are always just wanting everything to be perfect and legal, and the fear factor is real. And they're paralyzed, but the ones that are willing to trust themselves and move forward are really successful. But when it comes to financing, one thing I wanted to let you guys know, we are seeing more and more women who have launched businesses, and especially after this last year of COVID, and seems how the world has just blown up. I think the one blessing that COVID did was shut down the world and force the world to see itself. And for the world to take a lot of social responsibility. And so we are seeing a lot of businesses, a lot of women businesses, put a lot of money forward. And so anytime I'm seeing more and more grants come forward. for women business owners. So anytime I see that, I save that, the bookmarks across my computer. It's funny. Every link I save. So that's why it's always important to reach out to women business centers and ask for those. Also too, we have just become, last year we became what's called the Kiva Hub. If you haven't heard of Kiva, what that is it's a hybrid of crowdfunding and loans. So if you're looking to start a business or grow your business, you can apply for a Kiva loan. Hold on a second. Sorry.
No problem. Then,
sorry, I thought that was my husband, but it was a solicitor. Stop. So anyway, now my dogs are going off. I apologize.
This is the world we live in, the Zoom life.
So anyways, see, this is COVID. This is the world we live in.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have Kiva. So how that works is you fill out an application, you get approved for a certain amount of money, so say $6,000, and you get put on a crowdfunding site. The money gets raised, and when you get approved, oh my gosh, I'm gonna kill him. When you get approved, you now have this interest-free loan, and you can use it, and then you pay it off slowly over an approved amount of years. Every time you pay it off, it's like a revolving loan. Stop. You can use it as many times as you want, or you can apply for larger amounts. It's really great for people who have bad credit or no established credit. And so it was created, actually, the organization for women basically in third world countries who wanted to start a business and needed a couple $100s here and there. Stop it. And they couldn't get money. And so what makes it interest free is, since the money is crowdfunded, what happens is every time people start paying off their loans, then the people that donated that money get reimbursed. And then they keep, donating it back to other women and men. I mean, both, it goes to both. But so if you're interested in that, when you're looking to start your business, fill an application online. It's really easy and it's great. And what we've noticed is, since COVID has hit, people are in front of their computers. I've had clients, when they've applied for Kiva loans, the process before COVID started, it took about 6 months for people to get funded. We just had a client who was approved for $10,000. She was funded in a week.
And does anybody just go and fill out an application on Kiva, or do you have, I noticed they have like lender profiles that kind of vet these borrowers out. Do you work with one of those, or how does that work?
No, that's a great question. So we're a Kiva hub. So
okay, we could go to you or something like that.
Right. So you actually can go to our website, and we have a link where we actually have a Kiva Capital Access Manager, and her name is Effie. And so what that means is you would be, you could ask her questions. You can fill out your application. She reviews it, makes sure everything's online. You submit a picture. She makes sure, it's in line with your industry, all this kind of stuff, because that's the picture that would go onto the crowd site. And then that's submitted. It goes to the Kiva world, and then they approve it. And and then it goes from there. So it's pretty exciting. It's how can you say, there's nothing out there that is zero interest free. And so the application really isn't that extensive, and it's approachable, which is nice. You don't need I don't think you need a business plan for it. So, and with things getting funded pretty quickly, it's a really great way to go, especially if you don't have credit and you're trying to build it. It's a really great stepping stone too.
Yeah, I have a question. Thanks for sharing that. I wanted to know, like, how at what point the businesses say, you know what, like, I think it's time for me to, to talk to, like, somebody from the Chamber of Commerce. Like, at what point the businesses, take that approach? And then, like, what are the benefits of joining, like, a chamber's contract? I know there's, like, the Black Chamber, and, like, there's the Salt Lake Chamber. When can businesses join that, and, like, what are the benefits to that?
No, that is a really good question. So many chambers now exist and they've become really specialized. Great point. We have the Salt Lake Chamber. Every city has their own chamber. We have the LGBTQ chambers, the Black Chamber, the Asian Chamber. This is what I recommend you do. Before COVID, all the chambers do events, and they'll do things like these breakfasts. What they do is they'll have like a business breakfast, and partners, even including us, will go and they'll post it on their calendar, and they'll highlight one of their members will have it at a business, and all of the partners will show up. And what happens is they'll do a presentation there. And I always recommend going to these. And what happens is whoever's it's hosted as, they'll do a presentation. So say it's at an insurance company, right, that morning, and they'll have some type of brunch, and they'll end up doing a presentation of that business location. But what's so fantastic about it is who's ever present will introduce themselves. So any business owner, any chamber member will be there. I always recommend going to those a few times, introducing yourself as well, getting to know these people, and then after the presentation, mingling a little bit and asking these people that are present what they get from the organization. What value after joining have they gotten? Or going to the fundraisers. Like the Black Chamber does some really killer fun events, some Roaring 20 events and all of that. But go to these events first before you join the memberships. And this is why, especially as a small business owner. Because if you're a large corporation, let me tell you this, joining all these chamber memberships looks good for you as a corporation, okay? Because you're large and you're going to have an employee that can relate to that, okay? But as a small business owner, these memberships are expensive. They add up over time. That's a lot of money. And so you really want to make sure you talk to someone that is like your target audience, right? Is like you. And so you want to see if that return is real. A cool thing is at the Women's Business Center of Utah, when people are clients at the Women's Business Center of Utah, so what that means is when you sign up on the Women's Business Center of Utah's website and you fill out a client profile, that makes you a member. It's at no cost. Since we're housed at the Salt Lake Chamber, when the Salt Lake Chamber does certain events that are only for chamber members, our members get to go for free. So at the end of the year, they have this holiday party. They open up the whole chamber, and in 2 to 3 hours, they have food and they have entertainment, and in 2 to 3 hours, they have 600 to 700 people all throughout the business community go through that. It's a fantastic event. So I always recommend to all my clients to go to that, because it's a great experience to test out the membership, right? And to ask those questions. What value did you get from this membership that year? Did you get something in return? Did it, promote your business in the way that you thought? I have had some clients that have definitely said yes for the industry that they're in. And I have definitely had some clients that have said no. I've definitely had some clients for certain chambers that have said it's been the best thing that they've done. And I've had some female clients that said, I could never be a part of that chamber because they don't represent women. So there's so many things, that you have to ask. So I can't really say that it's a yes or no thing, right? Or it's black and white, because it's not. So I always recommend that you test it out and you ask those questions.
Yeah, I love that question and all the points you made. I think also, if you just assert yourself, I think there's so many opportunities that are low cost or free even to network and meet with other business owners or leaders that can help and guide you. There's, we live in the Silicon Slopes, right? So there's events through that, or through the University of Utah or the Women's Business Center, that are free at cost, free to you. And so I think looking into those and taking advantage of those opportunities is very important if you're proactive.
And I'll tell you this, a majority of those, well, right now too, because of the COVID and everything's on Zoom, or they're doing these hybrids right now, in person and on Zoom. Take advantage now, follow everybody that you're interested in and sign up, because a lot of them, well, I'm starting to see they're starting to resort back to charging. Reach out and let them know if you're a student or if you just don't have the funds, and let them know. A lot of them have funds or people donating to cover that cost. So you can attend.
Wow.
When things go back into person. Little tip. I'm gonna totally get busted because this is Facebook Live. But if you don't find, have funds at that month, and you want to go to one and it's at a business, just show up. Sign in and walk in. No one's gonna stop you. No, we live in Utah, passive aggressive Utah. But no one's gonna stop you. So just a fun.
And you mentioned kind of LinkedIn earlier. Create a LinkedIn page, make sure you're going there and connecting with people, and then following up with them on message, and people are willing to help.
Yes. Think about the industries you want to be in. It's like, not even for business, but even if you never become a small business owner, right? And this is just knowledge. You can take what I love about being a business owner and the business plan and the ideas from that, the philosophies, you can apply in them to your life. So you have your target audience, right? I always tell my clients, you always want to target the services that you want to work in all the time, like you would target your clients. You don't want to just take any person, any client, because what happens is, if you're really good at what you do and they start bragging about you and you take any client, well, you might find out you start working in the area that you hate all the time. And so you have this business that now you hate. It's like working for someone else, right? It's like the 80-20 rule. Same about LinkedIn. You don't want to create a LinkedIn profile and just invite everyone or follow anybody, because now you might have people that you follow or follow you that are in industries or have belief systems that do not interest you at all, and share content that doesn't go in line with what you believe or anything like that, and it makes you sad inside, and it can really direct your career, trust me. So think about it like that when you build your LinkedIn out. So if you're thinking about that right now, you have interests for small business or your career, really target that, be intentional about it. And if you want to, make a presence in the state, or, with different chambers or anything like that, be intentional about it. Connect with them, talk to them, have suggestions, post things. Don't think that you can't influence them. They need the help and support, and don't be afraid of them, because they need the help and support. They need your ideas. They need you.
I think, Khadija, you also had a question?
Yes, I did. So this is kind of shifting gears a little bit, but as a woman in the business world, how do you balance career, personal life, and passions? And is there such thing as a balance?
No. So great question. You have to be intentional about it. And you are so young and so smart to ask that question now. And so be intentional about it, and really be intentional about it, and guide your life. So I'm a lot older than you now, and I was raised in my life that the only importance a person had in this world was to be, your only value is how far you went in a corporation and how much money you made. So here is my share of the world, okay? My aha moment was when I got to the point in corporate America and I had just scaled an organization. And basically what that meant is I had a background in process improvement, setting up standard operating procedures, taking the company to basically where they were going to go public, and the organization, it was handing it over to me to run. So this was my next level, right? This is where, you know, the big money, this is what they're talking about. This was everything I've ever worked for, all the sacrifices. You know, my husband, I was in the military, but when I got married, my husband and I both had the same credentials. And we both said, whoever hits a certain amount of money, we will follow that person's career. Unfortunately, I hit it first, and I was sad inside. No, but so we followed mine, and we moved more for my corporate job than we moved in the military. And we moved in the military every 2 years. So I hit that level. Right when I hit that level, the CEO of the corporation stepped down. Who they brought in gutted the corporation, and I was part of being let go. So everything I worked for in my life was taken away in 6 months. And let me tell you, that rocked my world in a way that I was never mentally prepared for, because I was grown in a way that if you work hard and do everything one way and right, you will be rewarded. And so I didn't do anything wrong, and it was taken away. And I was the breadwinner of my family, and I did not know how to handle that. So I took a year off. And you hear all these stories all the time that when people have tragedy happen or they're fired, it's the best thing that ever happened to them. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I took a year off. I did things like I did the yearbook at my kids' school. I became chairwoman of the city's, 4th of July parade. I invested in myself. I started my own consulting business, but in the long run, I learned that I needed to learn how to self-care and all of these other things. Okay, I still didn't do it. So I had to be intentional. So every year I set, people do New Year's resolutions. I don't do that. I set like goals. So 1 year after that, I did a year of yes. So I said yes to everything. So even things I never would, like anybody asked me to do a speaking engagement or talk on a panel or talk about, do anything, whatever it was, I said yes, anything, volunteer in my kids' classroom, whatever it was, I said yes, no matter how easy or hard it was. And it opened up so many friendships and opportunities. It was one of the most interesting years of my life. The next year, I made it about women business owners. All it was about finding and showcasing women business owners in this state. And that was my focus. This year, it's about true self-care. I want to understand what it's like to truly self-care for myself and understand that. There is no such thing as work-life balance. There isn't. It's not real. And so what that means is you have, and when you set a precedent for yourself and others, when you go into an organization, right from day one, however you set yourself and that standard and those boundaries for who works around you, you have to do it from day one. So if you're a workaholic and all of that, and people get, that rhythm, I kind of talked about social media, right? If you set that standard and then a year later, you're like, oh, I now want to work-life balance. I want to reset all of you. They can't do that. They're like, you're totally crazy and we're going to fire you and put you with someone new. But it's harder to reprogram everyone. So however you want to design your life, what that looks like for you, you need to start trying to put those things in place now. So we know as humans, right? We need exercise. We need meditation. These are all things people who are uber successful do. We need friendships. We need attachments. So if these these are things necessary for the human being. So we need to incorporate these things in your life. If you are an overachiever, embrace that. It's okay. These are things that are okay. I am an overachiever. Do you know how for so many years, I just swallowed that down? I don't know why. Own who you are. Know who you are now, own that and move on. And let me tell you this, people will always hate you and people will always like you. And get a good therapist now. We all need therapists. I think we should all have therapists, coaches, and friends. I mean, we all
you need your support. You need your tribe. Yes. Everybody, yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard, but know what you want now. I think the best thing is the best quote I ever heard, or the best, like, I don't even think it's a quote, but the best advice I heard at some conference or somewhere, I don't know where I was, but, and I try to go by it for goals or life at times, but think about what you want. And it can go for your personal life or your business or your career. And when something comes your way in that day or that year, and it can change the direction of where you want to go, say to yourself, is this going towards my goal? Whatever that goal is, right? And if it's not, then you say no to it. Now, if it's an opportunity that you got excited about, write that opportunity down. So later, after you've reached this goal, you can revisit it, right? Because you don't want to feel like you're depriving yourself of things in your life, because you only get one life, right? Only one. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the show. You are in the show. And so be intentional about everything. I really wish someone explained that to me, because I think I wasted so much of my life trying to get to this one point. And I thought when I got to this one point, I was then going to live my life for some reason. It's the stupidest way to live. And so, yeah. So if you take anything, and I'm sorry, that was a lot of information.
No, thank you.
Be intentional and deliberate.
Yes.
I did have a question, sort of follow up what Khadija was saying. So, like, nobody goes into business for work-life balance. I mean, I think that's also part of your point. What are some of the reasons that someone should start a business? And if they're thinking about or deciding, is it passion? Is it to solve a problem? What are the things that you've seen successful entrepreneurs or business women leaders start a business, and your advice there?
No, great question. A lot of trends I see people go into business. They want flexibility. They want control. They want to control their hours. Maybe they have children, or maybe they've worked for other people and they want more control of the process. They don't like all the red tape that they see in their everyday job. And so when we see that, those are just the normal things, right? And so when we see that, we really want to make sure then their business idea they choose to move forward with as a business owner doesn't find them in the same predicaments of being trapped as if they were working for someone else. On the flip side, I've seen other entrepreneurs go into business because they want to solve a problem. They want to make where they live better. When I went to Haiti in 2019, I toured the country. I was there for 2 weeks. And the first week I was there, I did a bunch of panels with a lot of different entrepreneurs. And some of those entrepreneurs were there on the environmental side. And their products were bamboo furniture or clothing, things like that, products that they could pull from their country so they could, have jobs that the people there could work at and create products that could have economic value so they could have a better life and have more manufacturing there, to grow and make their country better, because it's the poorest country in the world. And so there were so many layers of importance to that product. It was so much more. So it's really interesting to see the level of service that I'm seeing more and more the younger generations come up with. Not only is it giving more back to the world, but their own personal connections of making their countries better. Because I don't know about you, but if you have never been to Haiti, it's the poorest country in the world. And being there, it was really the poorest country in the world. And they have left there, and some of them have been educated at the best colleges in the world, and they're still going back, and they live in villages that they share, electricity with. And it's just inspiring to see that this passion that they still believe their country can be better, and they want to rise up their people to get to the level of what they have seen in other countries. And it's just thinking about it, it's just amazing. And so it depends on where you go in the world, but at the end of the day, everyone is searching for the same thing. They have families that they want to take care of, and they come from all different cities and countries, and they want to have the best things and a life, and where they live, they want it to be the best. And so they try to do it any way they can, and they're looking for support and resources to get them there, if that makes sense.
I think Shayna had a question as well.
Oh, yeah. So I know you talked about how a lot of women business owners and local business owners like to support each other and, lend a hand to each other. But how do you stop yourself from comparing yourself to others? And just how do you stop yourself from comparing yourself and just keeping up your confidence, I guess?
So are you thinking that you have a business idea and you open your business and you might see someone have a similar product out there or who might be more successful than you, and so it might make you not want to move forward or continue? Okay. So that is such a great question. And I think it happens at all stages for business owners. And there's a few things that you keep in mind, and also why some of the points I mentioned in the presentation are always your foundation. One is, I mentioned your network is so important. You will always go back to your network. One thing I want to mention is at the beginning of your business journey, and I kind of mentioned it here, take each other's information. You'll rely on each other more and more. You don't even realize it. But think about anybody that could support you in this journey right now, okay? Because as human beings, when good and bad things happen to us, we kind of lean on who's closest to us to talk to. And when you're in business, if you don't have this established list already and you lean to the closest person to you, it might not be the best person, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I was raised to, you kind of really don't have a lot of value unless you're CEO of a company, right? And so here I am, a business advisor at the Women's Business Center of Utah, which is a great job. But if you think about it financially, what I get paid is what I made a bonus for a corporation, okay? And so my dad a lot of times still asks me when I'm going back to my real job. So yeah, so when I talk about wins at the Women's Business Center of Utah, he's not the person I talk to. Doesn't mean he doesn't love me or anything like that, but he's not my audience, if that makes sense. So when you have those moments of fear, when you're in your business and you're seeing someone else excel in your same industry and you're feeling that fear factor come in, that creeping in, you need to rely on your network. I have people that come in all the time with a business idea that's similar to something that's out there. They feel like they have a different point of view on it. We've done the data research. They can still move forward and be successful because they have another take on it. Or if someone has a business idea, they feel like, I need to go on this, I need to move forward right now, but they haven't vetted it, right? And so the fear factor is, I need to move now. And we're like, we need to slow down and do some more research. And they're so worried if they don't move forward, it won't be successful. But what they don't realize is your support system that you grow, the connections that you make, is what keeps you successful. It gives you, it validates you. And so when you're in business and you grow that organic following that has purchased your service or products, even if people out there copycat you, you don't need to worry about that, because your original foundation is always solid and they share your story, right? And you grow upon that. And so when you truly focus on your business and you're dialed in and you're growing it and you're referring to the data and you're doing research and you're networking, you're thinking about the next idea and you're working from it in a place of growth mode and that type of process, you don't have time to watch that noise, if that makes sense. And then when you get glimpses of that, or those naysayers start, they get you off guard, well, then that's when you refer back to that list. And you talk to those people that are on your team. Or you come to like people like me, and we take you back from this wide range and we bring you back here, and get you centered. That's why entrepreneurs are friends with other entrepreneurs, and talk to each other about these things and get you refocused. It does happen. You're human. It's going to happen. Or you're going to see someone else doing something. You're like, oh, why didn't I think about that? And then you move on, right? It's going to happen, but you can't live in that place of fear, because if you do, you're never going to move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a
Good
question.
timing. Oh, yep.
Touching back on a quote that you had mentioned in your presentation, it was behind every successful woman is, I also do believe that behind every successful person, men or women, there is some type of influence behind their story. So what would you say is, what would you say is your greatest influence in business, and why?
Oh my gosh, that is mine. Wow, that is a really amazing question. I really don't get questions asked about me. I really don't like to ask questions about me. It makes me really insecure and puts me on the spot. And so thank you for doing that. Wow, who's influenced me? I think, well, one, every day, all the women that I've worked with, clients, I can tell you that, influenced me. But one of my most recent probably influences is the client that I went to Haiti to work for. Her name is Janita. She started a nonprofit to give women financial freedom. She comes from a village in Haiti, and she has a college education, and she comes to the States, and she's won major grants, and she had many opportunities to come live here. And she continues to live in her village in Haiti. And she has helped elevate so many women. And when I visit Haiti to help with programs for her organization, and I'm only there for like 2 weeks at a time, she always asks me like when I'm going to move there. And I look at where she lives and the love and the support of the people in her village. And I just don't know how she goes back and lives there. And I know how selfish that sounds of me, because that's me being an American, right? Because I like the creature comforts. I don't like my electricity going off at 8 p.m. every night. But what she gives back and how her energy, she keeps going, and she thanks me. And sorry, it's a lot, got me off guard. But she thanks me for the knowledge I've extended to her and her organization, and what she's doing for those women over there, and how she continues to give them financial freedom and their families. And these are women that have no spouses and have children who are suffering from AIDS, and it's just inspiring. And so, yeah, I don't know where she gets her energy, and she works a full-time job, and she supports her family in some ways too. And it's just unbelievable. So women like that, and she's like 25 years younger than me, but seeing that type of energy, it gives me hope for the future, especially when you see what's happening in our country this year, and over time. It gives me faith and hope that that type of thought process will work its way throughout the world. And so it's not celebrities that like inspire me, it's women like that.
So I have a final question. Thank you for touching on.
Go ahead.
You know, as a man, I wanted to know like what can I do to support women, like, you know, who are like, you know, in my life, you know, who are like running business in general, like what can I do to support them? You know, what would that look like for me, you know, yeah.
So I think it's really, the whole men and women conversation, it's one that's happening a lot in Utah right now. And it's so funny because as a woman, well, I'm only a white woman, right? So I only can look at my viewpoint of discrimination as a woman, because I'm not a minority woman. And so that's a whole other conversation that I don't understand. And there's a lot of pain there. And so I only have the pain of being a woman from that level, right? Seeing that discrimination in business and all of that. And the conversation that's been happening in Utah is women need men to elevate them. And that has made me very angry in the business world, because I'm like, women don't need men to elevate them. We don't. And so that's a big reason too why I have not returned to the corporate world. And when I was in Haiti, that question, when I was on panels, got asked to me a lot. And when I watched the action of the men, it was very interesting, because you can genuinely see through their body language, the ones that supported women, like it was sincere. And that is taught. And then the ones that didn't. And body language says everything. And so I think the most important thing in life is when you're in a room, right? Men and women, everything is a respect thing, right? And so if a woman has a floor, if a woman is in a leadership position, you listen. If she gives instruction, you listen, right? She tells you something to do, you do it the same way as if a man were giving you that instruction. You ask questions in the same way. You don't, discredit that or question it right away just because she's a woman. You come out and support her and be there and bring your friends, and you celebrate her and her organization. It's the same way. I really hate when we have Martin Luther King Day and you see a bunch of white people start posting quotes from Martin Luther King on Instagram, but they don't come out any other day and work any type of civil rights cause or anything like that. You know what I mean? You want it to be genuine and authentic, and it's the same thing in anything. And so actions really speak loudly. It's the only way that it's really going to come out to the masses. And so, you know, any type of women in your life, or I think earlier you mentioned, did you mention earlier that a lot of you go to the U, right? Did you mention that you go to the U? Okay, are there any women organizations at the U, or women entrepreneurial groups at the U, or, you know, join those. You can do that, be a disruptor. And I'm not talking about the sorority organizations. Don't go and party with the sorority girls, because that doesn't count. But those are ways to be involved and to intertwine with those types of groups, be on panels with those types of organizations, talk about the conversations as you're growing with your generation. And so when you graduate from college, the conversation is organic. So when you flow, if you flow into corporate America or any business, it's now natural, right? You know, you're a part of it. You've been a part of it in the collegiate world. You've navigated it maybe through panels or your organizations, your clubs. I would even suggest, if you're interested in business now, go to the chambers. Be involved in all of those chamber conversations. Reach out to them, ask, they're having these conversations now. And let me tell you this, when it comes to having questions about women and men and the minority groups, there's like 2 people having these conversations in the state of Utah. Okay, they need more representation. All right. And when it comes to people representing the Black community, it's like 2 people from the Black chamber. When it comes to women representing, it's like 2 people from certain organizations. When it comes to diversity, it's 1 woman in the state of Utah. That's like 4 people representing diversity inclusion for the state of Utah. Does that seem right? I don't think so. And so these are ways that you guys can get involved, and you'll learn how to, you know, support women naturally and your groups, if that makes sense. It's more than just wearing a t-shirt and going out, hey, I'm supporting this group. If that makes sense.
We are short on time, but I did have one more question that, you know, kind of I was thinking about. Just the rate of success in starting a business happens to be very low, especially if it's your first time jumping the business. And you look at most successful entrepreneurs and business people out there, it wasn't their first time that they hit jackpot and it worked out. What is kind of your advice on failure, and it inevitably will happen, and how do we manage that, and how, like, you know, maybe there's something you can say to somebody who maybe tried or had an idea, it failed, on jumping back onto the wagon and trying again, and maybe you can close with that.
Sure, I can even use my personal example. So of everything going right, and timing can totally screw you over. So my husband and I, before COVID hit, were all set to open a food truck. We have our food truck parked in our driveway right now. Our business is called Trimbies, and we're launched on Instagram. We worked out of a food kitchen and everything. COVID hit, and we paused, and we talked about launching in October, November. We vetted our product, everything, and we had seed money and everything. We decided to launch anyway, just because we had to move. And so we had a really great response from the public. But with COVID, our success in making money was with our truck. But we know COVID is still going to happen for this next year, and our success is being launched into the farmers markets and certain key food events. And those food events aren't happening in 2021. And it doesn't matter how many people have been liking our food, how many people have followed us on Instagram, how organic following we have, all the numbers on social media, everything is in place and it looks great on data and it's all working out where it's supposed to be. However, because of COVID in 2021, where it's going, we had to sit down and we said we have to put it on pause. So we're having to, we can't afford, you know, just working out of Square Kitchen because it's too expensive. The money is with those food events and the food truck. That is where the money is. And so we have to suspend everything. And with that, it's going to cause us to have to sell that food truck and wait. And so knowing that, it really hurts because we did the business plan, we did everything right, got the seed money, did the beta testing, sourced everything out, but COVID, and it's going longer than we anticipated. And the events that we were connected to aren't going to happen. So we just decided to step back. We'll keep our, Instagram open. We have been open to certain events like catering every once in a while, but it hurt. It really hurt. And we will launch after, the herd mentality takes with COVID, and we can launch again. But those are things that you have to think about and be willing to do. And it's okay.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think resiliency is the key, and not being discouraged, right? Like you said, maybe the opportunity will open up to try that again, or maybe the timing was just wrong for the idea. It could be a great idea. But so anyways, thank you so much, Clancy. I really appreciate your time. I learned so much. It was very beneficial to me personally, and I know it was for our panelists as well. If you're watching at home and you liked what you saw, like the video, share it, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our newsletter, and stay in touch with us. You can still ask questions in the comments, and we definitely forward them to Clancy, and she can, we can put you in touch with her. I want to give a shout out and a huge thanks to Luna Benuri, our executive director. She couldn't join us today, but she's always 24/7 nonstop serving the Utah Muslim Civic League. I'd like to thank the executive team and the board, and all our interns and fellows that are also do so much for us in putting these events together. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. See ya.